What up, world? Welcome to episode 111 of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast, NFL Draft, Post-Draft Recap. I am your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful and comfortable confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, Patreon, Trovo, and as well as on Podbean. I thank you guys as always. I do apologize. I would have had some earlier episodes and some shorts popped up over the weekend, but we were experiencing technical difficulties over at the house. I got everything rectified now. Everything's good to go. I got a lot of information from the draft, though, that I was stockpiling, notes, post-draft information. We're going to talk about the Sheduer Sanders fallout. We're going to talk about the quarterback room and the mess that it is in Cleveland. Jaxsondart going to the Giants. What Jacksonville can expect to get out of travishunter. What I got right and what I got wrong from the first round of the draft. And also talk about some notable selections from rounds 2, 3, and so on into the later rounds of the draft, and what I liked and didn't like about those picks. So happy you guys are here to be here as always. But before we get started, I want to make sure we give some shout outs to some friends of the show. Beforehand, I want to definitely let you guys know within the link, there will be a link in the description box of this video for PlayStation Direct. If you guys are looking to get a PlayStation 5 or looking to get any of the bundle packages they may have available, I implore you to check it out. PlayStation is more than a game. Like I said, I've been a Sony fan myself since 1996. It's something that I play all the time. So I would definitely implore you, if you definitely, are a video game aficionado or you love video games, period, or just have downtime for it, definitely check out the link in the description. Getting into it though, guys, crazy ass weekend. Like I said, was experiencing some technical difficulties. I caught the draft, was able to get all the picks and selections, but my weekend couldn't have been any crazier than Sheduer Sanders' weekend. It was the talk all around the world. Everybody and their mom was trying to figure out what in the hell was going on with Sheduer Sanders. Why was he sliding? This didn't make any sense. What was going on? What was the logic? A lot of things to digest and unpack. I'm just excited to be here to tell you guys that, more importantly, whenever you think you know something, more importantly, always keep this in fact. The more you know, the less you know. Because if you would have told me Sheduer Sanders was going to slide, I kind of would have, I believed you. I would have said, hey, maybe to the second round, maybe the third round. Fifth round, Sheduer Sanders going pick number 144 in the fifth round. I mean, I know that he's not athletic like Cam Ward. Excuse me. I know he's not an all-world quarterback like, Caleb Williams or maybe even Jaden Daniels. He's not of that ilk and that talent. However, he's accurate. He's efficient. He gets the ball out of his hands. He makes good decisions with the football. Last time I checked, that counts as good quarterback play. That still counts in the NFL. I didn't really realize how bad this shit was going to get, but it seemed like it was a lot of, he didn't make himself look good in the interviews. He kind of shitted on the process, and this was the league's little way of colluding to get him back and to let him know that he fucked up on a lot of major levels. And do understand, I'm not in the NFL. I know there's a process, there's checks and balances to everything. But it seemed a bit extreme. It seemed like it was a bit harsh. However, this was their way of themselves, quote unquote, humbling him. Fucked up. Bullshit in my personal opinion. But nonetheless, when he got drafted, he carried it well. He carried it as best as I think anybody would. Just hoping to get drafted. He got drafted. And most importantly, like I said, he made the most of it with his family and friends and celebrated it. And like I said, the Browns did ultimately what they needed to do, because make no mistake, them grabbing Dillon Gabriel over Sheduer Sanders has to play well to make that a mistake. Sheduer Sanders has to play well to make that a mistake, because make no bones about it, that Dillon Gabriel pick in round 3 was a reach. That was a reach. He was supposed to be at best projected a day 3 projection. Small, a little bit undersized, accurate, can make some good decisions, but, not really an NFL-style quarterback. Doesn't mean he can't be good. Just looking at his build, looking at his tape, looking at how he may project in the NFL, not looking too great. That being said, though, you got a situation where they got drafted him in the third round, and Sheduer's a better prospect. So that just goes to tell you the Browns and their operative Miranda and their thought process. Very, very fucking retarded. Don't really understand what in the fuck they're doing over there. And then to get them in the fifth round and say that, the slide, it just made so much sense. So it could have been an economics thing, and I get it. I mean, they're still under the fucking thumb of the Deshaun Watson contract. Because of their incompetency, they've given up a shitload of picks. They're still feeling the ramifications of that. So I get it. But, damn. Like, you just almost fucked it up again. Just almost fucked it up again. Showed how incompetent you are. Yeah, I'm interested to see how things will play out because I do believe the rookies, whether Dillon Gabriel or Sheduer, are going to get a chance to start this year. Just because I think Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, they're not going to be able to sustain for a whole season. Joe Flacco is old as fucking sin. Kenny Pickett, in my opinion, is very, very, very average and not really good. So the young guys are going to get the opportunity. We'll see how everything plays out in preseason, the camps. Obviously rookie camps, rookie OTAs, team OTAs, training camp, all this stuff is going to be scrutinized heavily. Every throw is going to be evaluated. I know every beat writer is going to turn into a quarterback's coach. So you guys know the process. Those that are fully ingratiated with how this works, you know how this is going to go. So happy for Sheduer. I definitely think it was retribution. I definitely think it was collusion among the league to pay him a lesson. That being said, though, it's on him now to show up. They all are going to say that, you're a product of your daddy, you're a product of the Sanders name, you're a product of the hype. You're under the same scrutiny that LeBron's sons are under. You just got to show up. You show up, Sheduer, all this shit goes to the wayside. They'll be kissing ass and they'll be saying how big of a mistake it was that he slid. So, be that as it may, Dillon Gabriel pick, I think definitely was a mistake, though. I don't think that it was smart to grab him in the third round at all. At all. Speaking of which, another quarterback who is, wanted to be on the move, but looks like it didn't happen, Kirk Cousins. The Kirk Cousins situation has gotten crazier as time has gone on. The Falcons haven't found a likable or likely suitor, strictly because the Falcons want to make sure they're getting adequate compensation for getting rid of Kirk Cousins. They're already paying him. They have him under contract technically for 3 more years. They can get off of him next year and eat that salary because they've already paid out, a good portion of it. So be that as it may, I think Kurt's in a situation where he's just going to get real fucking comfortable and sit. Let's be real. It's not like somebody's chomping at the bit to make Kirk Cousins their starting quarterback. If I'm Kurt, collect the money, sit on the bench, sit with your beautiful family in Alpharetta, Georgia, go to the games in Atlanta, go to the facility in Flowery Branch, chill the fuck out. You've done it all, man. You have secured a bag for yourself, Kirk Cousins, because you haven't done shit in the postseason. You haven't done shit in important football games, but I do give it credit. Your business prowess, man, is bar none. You know what the fuck you're doing. You got great people around you. Just cool the fuck out. Be a backup. Be a backup. That's my best suggestion for Kirk Cousins in this situation because it's going to take a quarterback getting severely injured or a team not really feeling like they have enough or at least just wanting to kick the tires and see. But I just think that's going to be months away. Kirk Cousins showed you last year. He's fucking done. He's fucking done. So not really sure how that situation is going to play out for him. But if I'm the Falcons, you're in no real rush whatsoever. Going a bit further, we're going to talk about, and this was something near and dear to my heart. Like I said, this was something I touched on. I wanted to mention to you guys. It was what I got right and what I got wrong. It's a segment that I definitely wanted to start to do on here. And this was something I started with the draft, first round of the draft. Now, I didn't do this for all the rounds, obviously, because, the third, fourth, fifth, it's a little bit more unpredictable as far as where guys could possibly slide and go. It's really based off the evaluation. So, be that as it may. These are my top 10 things from the first round that I got right and got wrong. First thing that I got right, number 1, Sheduer Sanders will slide. No shock there. We already know that he slid, but that was something I wrote down. Number 2, this is what I was wrong about, actually. I said the Giants will get a quarterback between rounds 2 and 4. That was false. They grabbed a quarterback in round 1. Jaxsondart, like I said, I'll speak on that shortly as well. Number 3, this will be a D-line and O-line draft. I was right. It was 18 combined offensive and defensive linemen drafted in the first round. Number 4, Kirk Cousins won't be traded during the draft. Just touched on that. Kirk Cousins is not going to be traded. Number 5, Ashton Genty will be a top 10 pick. No brainer there. However, rumor was he was going to be going to Jacksonville. He went to the Raiders. Great selection there, in my opinion. Number 7, the Browns will make a trade in the second round. And that was actually false. They actually wanted to make it a trade in the first round. And that was strictly to be able to get another player that they wanted. So that was there. That was that. Got 2 wrong out of that so far. Number 8, cornerback will be a proposition of interest between 14 and 24. Remembering how things played out, Jahdae Brown was the first cornerback technically selected by, let's see here. I want to say it was San Francisco 49ers. He was the first corner. No, not San Francisco. Excuse me. I have to look up where Jahdae Brown was actually selected. Give me one moment here. But I know for a fact he was the first cornerback taken off the board. Once he was selected, then it was a situation where it was like, okay, I think Maxwell Harrison, Mad Max from University of Kentucky, he didn't get selected until around the Bills selection, so I was false on that one. Really thought that there were going to be 2 corners, possibly go within 14 and 25, but as the board shaped out, it just didn't play out that way. And looking here at the first round selections, yes, Jahdae Brown, went to the Denver Broncos at number 20. So Maxwell Harrison didn't have too long to wait, but 14 to 25 just didn't work out. And number 9, the Packers will make a splash due to draft being in Green Bay. They went up and grabbed Matthew Golden. Wasn't a move that I thought they would typically make. Didn't seem like a Gutekunst move that they would typically make, but draft was in Green Bay. Get a guy that's there, get a guy that's known that could possibly plug and play and impact and help you right now. So it definitely made sense there. And last but not least, number 10, I wrote that more offensive linemen will go in the first round of quarterbacks. That was obviously correct as well. So proud of myself a bit. Some of it was a little bit of double entendre because you had, O lineman, D lineman thing, and then O lineman. But I thought that a run of O lineman would go towards the bottom of the first round, towards the second. It was littered throughout. I mean, Armand Membu went to the Jets. So it was a lot of great selections there. Teams doing the best they can or the best what they feel to make selections. But when we go back to quarterbacks, I want to stress emphasis that the Giants getting Jaxson Dart, trading back into the later half of the first round and getting him, bit shocking. I think Jaxson Dart, I don't really feel like he's fucking good. But that's the Giants. They make moves like this. They traded back to the bottom half of the first round. And getting Jaxson Dart, what it spells to me is, look at the quarterback room, guys. Russ doesn't have the mobility he used to have, right? Jameis was never really mobile. He was just more of a big arm, deep strike, take your chances, good or bad, style quarterback. And then you have this kid. And if you really pay attention to how Jaxson Dart is tough. Jaxson Dart will take a hit. Jaxson Dart will, improvise and throw on the run. He'll make plays, so he's mobile. So it just screams to me that they didn't feel like they were going to really be able to repair the offensive line right away this offseason. So the best bet to do is to get a quarterback who can move around, not like a Daniel Jones who's statuesque, but get a quarterback that can move around, that can help benefit the offense, which I think was essentially the smarter move. Be that as it may, we'll see if Jaxson Dart works out. I don't personally think Jaxson Dart's going to work out in New York, but, who knows? Everything remains to be seen. And also, too, I think that what was also amazing, too, was to see Travis Hunter's situation. Exciting to see, the Jaguars make that huge leap to go get him. That was definitely great. But Travis Hunter going to the Browns always seemed like the worst decision ever. The Browns, like I said, they came out and stated after the draft that they had so many holes that they needed to fill. It just didn't make sense to grab a guy who could play wide receiver and corner when you need linebackers, when you need D linemen, when you need offensive linemen. So kudos to the Browns for being smart enough in that department, knowing that that's what they needed. And Travis Hunter going to the Jaguars, like I said in the video that I touched on speaking on this, if you didn't see it, please check it out. But this, to me, screamed Jacksonville needed to make this happen. And on top of it, the fact that he's such an exciting player and what he could potentially do on offense and defense, Jacksonville needed this. They needed this shot in the arm. They needed this kick in the ass. Because it was they were kind of wasting away there where you were kind of fucking forgetting what was going on in Jacksonville. So this is amazing. Like I said, great to see. And sky's the limit for Travis Hunter and the Jaguars. I also talked about 2 wide receivers going in the first round. As it played out, you had Tet and Matthew Golden, so that definitely played out. Not sure if I would have had Matthew Golden going in the first round. I like Matthew Golden, just don't think he's really that great. Teteroa McMillan, a.k.a. T-Mac, he went to the Panthers at number 8. Bit high. Didn't think he would go as high as he went, but I understand the Panthers. They need to get playmakers for Bryce Young as soon as possible. That being said, another team that really shocked me looking back at this draft, Texans were looking to make a move up in the draft. They made a trade with the Giants and got into it, but I think that was, they were trying. I think they didn't see that the edge rusher or the corner or the wide receiver that they think they wanted, or not wide receiver, excuse me, tight end that they think they may have wanted. So in that situation, they just traded back. It sucks because another interesting team who was in a situation where you didn't know if they were going to trade up or out, the Saints. The Saints went into it knowing they still needed to address quarterback, so knowing they still needed to address edge rusher, knowing as well they needed to address offensive tackle. For the most part, those things were addressed. They ran up drafting Tyler Shuck, within their first round pick. They didn't go defense like a lot of people thought, be it as it may. Also, you had the report with Derek Carr talking about the whole shoulder injury thing, which kind of, I think, put a little bit of a scare, a little bit of fear in the Saints organization, knowing they could be possibly hamstrung. They didn't want to piss Derek Carr off. But Mickey Loomis has already stated after his post-draft meeting that Derek Carr is a start if he's healthy. But the Saints are still waiting on word on the shoulder injury, which I think was all bullshit. He wanted to see if they were going to draft the quarterback. They let him know they possibly were. They did. So we'll see if Derek Carr shows up and shows out. Derek Carr, to me, has shown a lot of his true colors to this situation. I get it. Things were not as perky or as smooth as you may have wanted them to be, but just seems like a bunch of, deflection, for lack of better words. As far as we're going into draft picks themselves, we're going to notable round selections. We're going to go to round 2. Seattle's we drafted Nick Amanawari, safety out of South Carolina. Love that pick there. They definitely need to replenish the safety position. The Browns grabbing running back Quinshon Jenkins from Ohio State. And then his running mate, Travion Henderson, going to the Browns. Quinshon Jenkins went to the Browns. And then his running mate, Travion Henderson, went to the Patriots, 36 and then 38. So, got to give them both credit there. Both got drafted within the 40s, within the late 30s, excuse me. Luther Burden, wide receiver I've talked about previously here on the show. He went 39 to the Bears out of Missouri. Just explained that Tyler Shuck went to the Saints. He went there, pick number 40 in the second round. Mason Taylor, son of Jason Taylor, tight end from LSU, currently is now a New York Jet. Donovan Ezaraku, guys that you guys well know that I bragged about, thought he possibly may be a Philadelphia Eagle, went to the Dallas Cowboys. The Rams were able to grab up Terrence Ferguson, tight end from Oregon. Will Johnson, who slid very weirdly off things like, bad medical reports to his knee or, just bad health reports, period. Seemed like it could have been strongly an inadvertent slide. He slid. Will Johnson slid over at number 47 to the Cardinals, place that he's definitely going to be needed. They haven't had a corner since Patrick Peterson, so no shock there. Then you got, of course, Panthers getting Nick Scourton, edge rusher from Texas A&M. Oluwafemi Oladejo, edge rusher that I remember the Eagles had brought in for a visit. He wound up going to the Titans. You had Anthony Belton, which this one fucking broke my heart. I swore Anthony Belton was going to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Didn't work out that much, but he wound up going to the Green Bay Packers. Great organization for him to be developed in and to play well in, potentially. The Lions at number 57, they grabbed Tate Rutledge. This guy's a fucking mauler and a fucking beast, so no shock there. Number 58, the Raiders grabbed Jack Beck. I've been on Jack Beck since the start of this college football season and the Senior Bowl. Like Jack Beck a lot. He's now a Las Vegas Raider. Definitely will fit that profile, fit that locker room well. The Ravens get another guy who seems to fit the Raven DNA and mold, Mike Green, edge rusher out of Marshall. The fact that he fell to the second round, there was definitely some off the field concerns. So, that's why he fell. But Ravens definitely got another steal there. And number 64, the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, grabbed safety Andrew Makuba out of Texas, ball hawking, intercepting style, getting safety. So I like the round 2 selections there. And as you went along, there were some things I definitely liked the rounds 3 and 4. Darius Alexander going to the Giants. Sucks that he's going to the Giants, but I like Darius Alexander. Ashton Gillette, edge rusher from Louisville, going to the Chiefs. Azare Thomas from the Florida State Seminoles, cornerback, going to the Jets. Siobhan Revel, guy I've talked about previously here on the show, cornerback from Eastern Carolina, going to the Dallas Cowboys. Like I said, Jalen Milroe, that's another one too. I think Jalen Milroe has excitement within his game. To me, he's a poor man's Jalen Hurts. He can run. He is accurate. He can make some impromptu plays. However, the thing that I think really resonates with me that really is kind of like weird, Jalen Milroe seems to, for lack of better words, if you notice watching him at Alabama, if you paid any mind to college football, it was the easy throws that were hard for him. We know now with coaching and the way that the game is developed that, that could be fixed. So going to Seattle, I think, was definitely a good move. How he develops and how fast he can develop is the question. I spoke about Dylan Gabriel going to the Browns with the 94th pick. Jalen Smith, cornerback out of USC, going to the Texans at 97. An offensive tackle, another one here that the Eagles looked at. Raiders the Raiders selected Charles Grant, offensive tackle out of William and Mary. Liked him a lot. He had a lot of good grades coming out. 4th round, you got Cam Scatterbo going to the Giants. Big signing there. Ty Robinson, defensive tackle from Nebraska, going to the Eagles. Trevor Etienne, little brother to Travis Etienne from the Jaguars, going to the Panthers. You had Gunnar Helm, tight end from Texas, going to the Titans. Titans were grabbing a lot of pass catchers and skill position guys later in this draft, too. Baron Sorrell, edge rusher from Texas, wound up going to the Packers. It was a dope experience seeing him get drafted. You had Malachi Morris, safety from Alabama, going to the Jets. Wide receiver, standout wide receiver from Stanford, Alec Iomanor, wide receiver. He's going to be going to the Tennessee Titans, again, grabbing a bunch of skill position guys. And Joshua Farmer going to the Patriots from Florida State. Like I said, a lot of good acquisitions if you look at the draft overall. Obviously, like I said, Sheduer Sanders going in the 5th round. You had Jordan James, running back from Oregon, going to the 49ers. Jaden Blue going to the Cowboys. And Jaden Blue, I thought, was definitely going to go a lot higher, but this sometimes how the board shakes out. Marcus Bowe, thought Marcus Bowe could potentially be an Eagle. He went to the Giants. So a lot of the guys that I was looking at, I thought might be potential Eagles, I should say, wind up going to other organizations that I think are going to help benefit them. The Bucs signed or brought in or drafted, I should say, edge rusher Elijah Roberts from Southern Methodist University. You had Kyle McCord from Syracuse, all-time leading passer at their university, now coming to the Eagles. Developmental piece, I definitely think they'll use to potentially trade him for something at some point. This Pittsburgh Steelers grabbed quarterback Will Howard from Ohio State. Safety Jalen Reed from Penn State went to the Texans. And then you had quarterback Riley Leonard from Notre Dame going at pick 189 to the Colts. Then you got Kobe King from Penn State going to the Vikings at 201. And then this one, I was very interested to see where this guy fell. Jimmy Horn Jr., who is probably one of the most exciting players at Colorado, a deep threat to take it to the house at any time. He went number 208 to the Panthers. So, kind of all works out a little bit quasi, but it's a beautiful thing. Quinn Ewers didn't go into round 7, which I expected because, let's be honest, Quinn Ewers just doesn't really show up that well in big games, and I didn't really feel like, him being, drafted high was going to resonate with anyone because, let's be honest, Quinn Ewers, though he played well in college, look at the big games he played in. Didn't show up. Didn't really show up or made too many turnovers to be resonated as a good starting quarterback, maybe a backup. But didn't really see it there. And, of course, got to give a shout-out to Mr. Irrelevant, Kobe Meyer, selected by the Patriots, cornerback out of Memphis. So, selections were a lot of things that I liked. Like I said, Jordan James going to the 49ers, Jaden Blue going to the Cowboys, Marcus Bowe going to the Giants. A lot of different selections there that I liked. Sad that the Eagles didn't get some of these guys, but I love the Eagles selections as well. Just more impressed with how the draft shaped out, how the board shaped out. Also going into something I definitely wanted to touch on before we end this episode, contract updates. Don't really hear about it as much. A lot of guys are getting their money and they're pretty happy, but there are some guys that are coming up at the end of their deals. Some guys are looking for restructures or potentially, to get their, new money, however it may be. One of those is George Kittle. He was initially a no-show at 49ers OTAs. However, he did show up at a later point. I was very adamant that it wasn't about his contract, why he didn't show up. Keep this in mind while all this is going on. The week prior, Trey McBride, tight end for the Arizona Cardinals, recessed the market, 4 years, $76 million contract, $43 million guaranteed. So clearly George Kittle wants to get paid. He doesn't really want to hear any of that bullshit. He's definitely better than Trey McBride. So we'll see there. No disrespect to Trey McBride. Micah Parsons also being smart, not showing. He showed up to OTAs, but is doing basically a hold-in, which is a great move laterally where you're showing up, you're being present, but you're not participating because you're not risking any injury until you get your guaranteed money. So smart move there by Micah Parsons. And also, too, the Titans securing Tyler Lockett, getting him on. Tyler Lockett, veteran wide receiver, sure-handed guy that can play special teams, can make plays, potential big threat here and there whenever you least expect it. I love this for the Titans. Like I said, and he's on a $4 million deal. It's worth up to $6 million. So basically incentives could push the deal higher. So again, gotta love the deal for, Tyler Lockett to be able to get to the Titans and have a chance to play well and to play with, in my opinion, a young rookie quarterback who could potentially, revitalize his career. Who knows? But that's just, more or less the things that I wanted to touch on as far as the draft recap. I thank you guys for always watching and listening. Again, like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. Another episode will be coming at you soon. It'll be recapping the NBA playoffs. Definitely make sure you don't miss that. Take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. And again, like, share, and subscribe.